Hello. Welcome.
Hello,
How we doing, Mark?
I'm great.
Welcome everyone to this week's What's in the Box live stream with myself, Harry McCullum, joined by Mark Taccolini, our CTO and founder. Um, Everything good today?
Yes.
All right. What we wanted to do this week is we made our big announcement last week with Canary and our integrated product. And this week we were going to dig in a little bit deeper, as well as talk about really our other integration points into the bigger Canary system. And we've got our upcoming, all of this is upcoming in our 9.2 release, which will be out early next month. So, any other initial comments, Mark?
Well, I think it would be useful to explain that the first 10, 15 minutes, we'll do an overview of the technology, the integration features, and that would be great even you are not a Factory Studio user or know about Canary, just the main concepts, because we explained it at the high level. And then the second half, it's for the engineers, the details on how you set up the configuration of products.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. And without any further ado, why don't we just hop right in?
Okay, so let's do that. You should be able to see this presentation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you can see it.
Perfect. Okay. Well, just a quick refresh in our own platform. Factory Studio FrameworX is great to create any kind of industrial application that requires real-time communication and integration with many data sources or applications. And one key component on that architecture are the historian data, the time series data, the databases. We supply connection with SQL databases, and we supply even a historian based in SQL. But of course, there are papers and papers about SQL. It's not really suitable for large scale historian. So we decided to start doing integration with lots of historian packages. And today I will explain what we did with Canary. That was really an amazing integration we did. We start by just refreshing that we always could able to exchange data with Canary because we have the MKTT Spark Plug B client driver. So you could at any time pick up our driver and send data to Canary using that protocol. That's not exactly new. What we decided to do, the first step, was to do an integration at this level here. Not going too much details about the Canary system. This slide is from their presentation. But essentially, the Canary system is composed by many and many components, where the key component is the historian itself, the archives, and all the Canary components themselves, they exchange data with their main archive using this interface that's just based on Microsoft's .NET framework. So we did our integration using this connection that's native to Canary because we are also a .NET application, and that gives amazing performance. I don't know which numbers you have heard, Harry, 2 times, 5 times.
Oh, yeah, five times plus. So
Yes, depends on the scenario. Be clear, it's not 20%.
yeah,
It's a couple of times faster because we are using this native connection. And with this native connection and some new features we are releasing 9.1 as a preview and full scale in 9.2, we have those basic 2 ways to have data exchange now. One is like a communication driver. You can map Factory Studio tags to Canary, either to read data from Canary or to create tags in Canary from Factory Studio tags. So you can pick up an empty Canary database and not only write the values, but even creating the data models from Factory Studio. So one way is to do the mapping. And another very unique way to do is directly accessing Canary tags and views without creating tags in our software. There are other videos about that. I recommend if you want more details on that. There is a video I did with Walker Reynolds that's on YouTube. The title is IoT Bypass Tag Creation. And we have our 9.2 information about that mapping, where you don't need to create tags. You just use the external data model directly. And essentially, either a mapping or accessing directly, we can, with any display scripts, any parts of our application can access Canary elements, data structure. We can show their data not only in our own trend charts like those, but in our graphical displays on the generic process diagrams, and also very easily do advanced distributed applications where the data that I'm showing a screen is a composition. In those two examples, I'm alleged created display showing the data from this motor, but the line number is replaced dynamically or during the engineering. So you can do very advanced applications that react to the data model, not even to know how many lines you have. You can do applications that are that generic. And another use case of that is when you are moving data from edge to enterprise. This number is running to update that. It's more than 70 now, not 50. But we have lots of communication drivers that, because of that night integration to Canary, you can use ourselves to be the one send data to Canary, either directly or through our gateway architecture. So we provide many scenarios that we can have our device running, our edge applications, send data to an aggregator and through Canary, or you can have many layers on that network. And we have all the tools to move that data, either through brokers or our own built-in gateway that we have that allows you to cross security zones in a way that is approved by to critical infrastructure applications. So that is a very restricted networking model. We are deploying to things like oil and gas or critical assets. And our gateways, not only MQTT, but our built-in gateways, they are able to supply that more distributed architecture. Bottom line is we are doing that, move data from edge enterprise. One nice thing about the configuration is not only the performance, is that you don't need to do any configuration in the Canary. Eventually, of course, set up some security setting. But other than that, you can read and write the data with no configuration at all if you want to require it at Canary. We publish the data and you consume the data directly using that native communication. to all practical effects is like it's our own built-in database.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, very, very good. Yep.
We put that working to the users that they had Canary. So if you have right now a Canary system, you have all that nice and beautiful integration right away as a standard part of our products. And that's, by the way, right now, it's not even 9.2. If you want to start testing and using that right now, we have already that integration.
Nice.
And frankly, that integration becomes so nice that we together with Canary Labs and Harry, okay, why you don't do a step further and give also an option to have Canary when you install Factory Studio to have an embedded version of Canary as an option. And that's what we did for version 9.2. So start of 9.2, we are picking up in the key component from Canary Labs, that's the Story engine, and embed that as a native component in Factory Studio. Of course, you don't need to use that, but the good news doesn't matter because the initial 500 tags of Canary Story, we are including a free license for that tag counting.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a
you can
great
use
way to get started.
Yes, and if 500 story tags is not enough, what are the options? Can we upgrade? How that works, Harry?
They're basically, it aligns with our I/O point counts with the Tatsoft Factory Studio and FrameworX I/O point counts. So it's 1,500, 5,000, 15,000, and unlimited. So if you want, I could hit the pricing maybe at the end or something.
Oh yeah, let's go on the end giving pricing. But I heard about that the ballpark number to go from 500 to unlimited is around 10K.
10K unlimited for $10,000 adder. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
really an unbelievable price.
And there is
to have.
some intermediate steps. So if your
Yeah.
application does not need to go unlimited, is only 1,500, 5,000. There are even some intermediate step, and the first 500 is no costs. And one question that I have from time to time is if that's replacing our built-in historian that we used to do in top of a SQL. The answer is no. The way is the architecture now. Canary was added as one more native historian. So when you are creating your Factory Studio applications, you can, of course, connect with any external historian package as we could before. We can get data from many OGBC. We can get data from custom historian packages. That is still there. What I'm talking now, it's not about connectivity to other products that we have done all, but about the native historian built in the products. So the native historian built in the products can be either Canary or SQL in the same projects, meaning you can still save some tags using our historian to SQL tables, and some of the tags that are more suitable for time series data, you save on the Canary archives, and you'll see the configuration shortly, how easy it is to make that definition.
Yeah, open and flexible is one of the things that we really believe in. So give you the flexibility to use SQL, or actually you can use other historians, but this is a beautiful option to embed the Canary historian right within the Tatsoft framework. But again, we're trying to always provide tools that are open and flexible for our users, our integrators, so you guys choose what's best for your specific applications. So
exactly. And when they wrap up on the first slides, we are able to connect to virtually any historian or database in the market. I cannot say all because perhaps there are some packages that I don't even know. But putting correctly, all the database or historian packages that our integration and users ever needed, we make the connection available. But in addition of that, we have now those built-in options out of the box on the same installation tool. Let's switch to the practical configuration, Harry, or do you have any more high-level remarks on the architecture?
No, I think that's good. I think we framed it up well, and yeah, let's hop in and see some things here.
Okay, so let's switch here. And in this presentation, I'm assuming that you are familiar with Factory Studio framework, or you want to be familiar with. So essentially, this is the tool we use to create new projects or to manage the many applications we are doing maintenance. And essentially, you can add a GIS map in a previous project, or when you create a new project, it's even easier because by default, you have that Canary license for 500 points with no additional costs. We added some nice templates. So if you have a more advanced trend chart page with some alarm page, I recommend you to explore those templates, and you are growing that number. And here's a concept that it's interesting to explain the difference between these communication points and the Canary storing points, because they don't need to the same when you create a project. Let's explain that. You are familiar with a license. You know that you can create communication drivers. And by the way, you can create communication driver even to some data source like OPC-UA or other packets. And typically, you do our license based on the number of communication points, meaning the external data that are reading and writing from those devices. The Canary storing, they are not counted here at all. I'll show in a little bit later, but Canary is a completely new native interface. So if you want to pick up those, all the communication points you have here and save all of them to Canary, that does not mean additional points. So if you go to our project, you have here info project settings. It shows how many variables this application is using and how many of those variables they are communication points. So this application has a data model of 2,000 variables and only 80 communication points. So in this case, the free license from Canary, it's way free, but even these communication points go beyond. Not necessarily you need to have the same Canary license story, because you can have some applications that are getting 5,000 points from the fields, but only 500 of those you need to storage in Canary. The other ones are only real-time or SQL. So there is those two concepts of the number of communication points, the protocols, the data that are put on the system, and the number of variables you are archiving. Any comments here, Harry, to make sure this concept is crystal clear?
No, I think that was pretty clear, Mark. Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay, just to make sure.
Yeah. Yep.
And we decided to do in that way, frankly, to be more cost effective. We could automatically map, okay, if you have 500 communication points, you need 505 poison tags, Canary story. But no, in reality, it's not really necessary. There are lots of projects that make sense that only a subset of your data you need to go to time series, okay? That's why we lay out in that way, okay? But anyway, when you create your projects, okay, so let's go back here and open some new projects. You'll find out that we have some new user interfaces in release 9.2. And they are out of the box when you create new projects. And those are these kinds of tag providers, okay? From now on, from 9.2 and up, when you create a new project, we create by default a new tag provider for you mapping to your local computer. Because from 9.2 and up, you are going to install, if you allow on the installation tool, the Canary in the local computer. But if you don't, so this configuration to new projects is out of the box. You don't know anything. That means we have this new console provider that gives an option to use Canary as a historian uh, uh, option in the system. That means in our historian tables, if you're familiar with that, here is when you have a new tag. So let's create here a new tag in the application. So when you have a tag that you want to archive, if you're not yet familiar with our configuration, you just paste that variable of that data structure here, and you define where you are going to save that configuration. And now on, you have the option to save that either in our SQL tables or on Canary table. And the way we organize the data archiving, we have that concept of historian tables that are pretty much like tag groups. So when you define a historian table, you define when I want to save that data. I want to save when the tag has a new value, or I want to save every hour, or both. I want to save every time the variable has a new value, and also one more sample every hour. So we are very flexible here. We can go by variable change, we can go by events. That's define when the data is going to be inserted in the story. And also we have a feature of time that bands, meaning if this tag that I'm going to put in this group changing too fast, I may eventually prevent that if the changes are less than 100 milliseconds, I don't want to insert two samples in the story. So it's a protection against doing too much, because Canary very proudly has in their marketing, they say when you put a sample in their story, you don't need to worry to lose in some kind of compress they do. Your sample will be there. That's great news. But of course, at the same time, you don't want to put more samples than you need. Okay. So the time that band creates that ability, so you can create different groups of variables, put some limitation on how fast that data may be inserted in the database. Okay. And time that bands is in addition of the traditional value that band that we have also. So if you want also to restrict archiving that data only when it's 1.5 on the engineering units, it's done, okay? Deviation, rate of change, I'll not explain now because are more features that we have, but let's keep on the basic, okay? So to be clear, before I even talk more about the embedded features, because we have that nice integration at the .NET level, you can pick up any of our 70 communication drivers that we have. So if you want to get data from Siemens or from S&P, you can just go through our traditional software configuration to get that data from whatever remote data source you want to get using our protocols. And that data will now be archived in Canary, not only using all the standard Canary features, but also the additional grouping and management features we added at our own level. Okay. So far, so good, Harry.
Yeah, that's good, Mark.
And
yeah,
keep moving. When you this concept of historian table, you can think that as virtual archiving groups. So you can create new archiving groups. So here I'm going to create an archiving group that I will call, I use the name table because frankly, that always started when that was a SQL table.
Yeah.
By the way, when you use a SQL table, that will be the name of the table in the SQL database. And you can select which system are going to store that. As you see, here you can select between SQLite or this Canary tag provider. So each group of data you can select to which of those two data sources you can archive as you create your new data group. And here in Store Table, we show the many data groups that we have in this specific application. So far, so good, Harry?
Yes. Yep.
And keep moving. When we did that concept of provider, we went really very beyond in the standard because we added features like backup station. So if this server is not available, you can automatically on the fly switch to that other backup station. Or we can also have many tag providers. If I want to connect to another historian server from Canary, I just mapped that. Here I'm going to create a new tag provider that are Canary remote server. So Canary remote server, and this remote server I'm going to map not to my local computer, but to any computer name or IP that's alleged where that remote server is. So we can very easily connect to many servers, always having that option to switch and even automatically route the data through our gateway. So let's say this IP of this server is not available in my network. We have that option server IP that will route that configuration through a Factory Studio gateway. Okay.
Yeah, very flexible to just about any kind of architecture you need. So
yes, it's not the top of this presentation. This presentation, the idea is to focus on Canary. But I invite everyone to see the presentation that we have on the 9.2, that this concept of tag providers is not only with Canary. We can have MQTT, we can have many variables acting as tag providers for the application, okay? Once you have that configuration, let's see the result of that running, okay? So I have this other application that I was showing a project from scratch, okay? I have this other application that we're using our simulation communication driver to create some simulated data. And on the providers, I did some connections with Canary to have different data sets in Canary. And I put some variables to archive, some of them using our own SQL tables, some of them to archive in Canary, okay? So when you do that configuration, everything you do on the system works like a native tag. So here I'm using one of our project templates that show an asset model. And you can select here the group of tag that you want to show. And you can overlay the alarm information. Or you can add some annotations in top of that data. So let's go here, add annotation. I'm selecting which process variable. And here I'm going to put some important stuff here. And then now we are overlaying some SQL data in top of that line. Or we can also do things like ranging. So that it's not only one variable, it's from one tag to another one that we call a range events. So I'm creating here a duration of 2 minutes. and the title is an area or something like that. So now I'm plotting this area of my process as something of interest. And what's nice in this example that are combining many data sources. When you are working at the framework level, doesn't matter if those annotations are coming from one SQL database, the alarm information from another SQL database. Some pans are in Canary, some pans are calculated, or some pans in some other storage provider. Because when you are working at the application, you work at the tag level or at the asset level, not at the address mapping. You work directly with the tags and your data model right away. Any questions, Harry, so far?
No. Are you gonna dig a little more into other, more like
Yeah,
talk a
let's
little
see
bit
a little
about
more
advanced
configuration.
applications and
Yeah,
all the
let's
great
explore
things.
that
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yep.
Here I'm showing a trend chart, okay? But assuming that you're not familiar with our products, one thing you need to know, this trend page, this alarm page, or whatever other page we do on the system, all of them, they don't need to be that kind of standard page. You can do very full, powerful graphical components. You can very easily bring in external components because what I was showing when I run that application is just one example that will be shipping with the 9.2, where we create those screens, okay? And all those screens are just any open to create with our drawing tool. So if I go to our drawing tool, you'll see that that trend page that was showing is not some sort of standard page. It's just a template page. So I can open here in my list of screens of this application. I'll pick up my trend page and you'll see that specific user interface that I was running. Let me zoom to fit on the screen. It was just something created using here with our own drawing tool. So you can very easily customize that. So if you don't want to have that annotation or to some other page, or if you want to do a display that are mixing trend charts with some other symbol style, it's really up to the end user or the integrator partner to define exactly how that user interface will be. Okay. And it's really, really very advanced what you can do regarding real time and applications. Just to give an idea here on the code behind, you can do C# programming, you can do VB.NET programming. Here on the tasks, you can also do Python. So it's, if you are familiar with tools like Microsoft Visual Studio, you are able to do anything that you'll be able to do in Visual Studio, but much easier because we have those building blocks, the functionality, like alarms, database connection, drivers. And on the drawing tools, we have those more advanced components like data grids, like alarm objects, like third-party integration tools. And you can lay out custom UI and custom codes much quicker than try to create that in Java or Microsoft Visual Studio or any other language. That's a good comment about the framework to the new users, Harry.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's good. Yeah, I think
Good.
it's just, we've done so many kind of advanced application on top of historians. Now to have a built-in integrated historian be able to
Yes.
use our tools, users are going to get just a ton of value out of building analytics on top of this data.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we still have the previous functionalities. We still have the ability, okay, if I want to pick up only 2 tags from Canary as an old-style communication driver, I still can create a channel to Canary and map that to a Factory Studio tag as it was a PLC driver. We still have that feature. But the new console of tag providers simplifies amazingly the configuration, because that's very important to explain. The tag providers is a bidirectional, real-time, online, live connection. Let's try to break this sentence. Okay.
Yeah,
What that it's a lot.
yeah.
If it's a tech provider, and by the way, this concept that I'm explaining, it's not only for Canary, it's for another Factory Studio server, to MQTT, to OPC UA, and you'll be adding more tech providers over time. Okay. But when you have a connection established, what we do with tech providers, you have 2 features right away. One is specific to Canary, that all tags in our data model, all templates, all variables created inside our platform can be immediately, very easily exposed to Canary archiving without doing any configuration in Canary. Just doing this configuration I just showed a few minutes ago. That's the first feature you have, specific to Canary. The second feature that we have that applies to everyone, if you are drawing your screens, you are doing your application, and here you want to show some data from that data source, like some text I/O. When you have the tech providers, the reason we gave that name, they add as extensions of our own tag model. So if I want to go to the Canary system and to pick up some data that's defined inside Canary, I can browse here the data inside Canary, even that data wasn't defined by us. So here I'm going in the diagnostics from Canary to map whatever they had already defined inside an object in their system. And you see this is a string. So this can be a math expression. So what I'm doing this text I/O, I'm dynamically mapping something from a remote Canary system without creating any tag in Factory Studio. Okay. And in case the syntax is not clear enough, perhaps we may have some users trying to watch that on a phone or something like that. I'm going to paste that here to be big enough. Okay. So you see here, when I create this tag provider, I make a typo. I put 2 S's. I correct that right now. And I'm accessing this variable from this remote server. And this remote server, let's show how easy it is to correct that typo. It's just definition in the tag providers. So if I go here, edits, I go to my tag providers. You'll see here, I tag a tag provider defined with the name Canary Systems with 2 S's that I will correct to be only 1 S now, okay? And the mapping for that connection, let's see what was put as a prime connection, can be any Canary system. So in this case, I connect to a server I have in my own computer, but could be a remote one. And here I can pick up any view from Canary. So if you are familiar with Canary, you know they have the concept of views and virtual views. So even you are not using Canary to be our embedded student, you can create a connection as I did to connect to any Canary server and to access right away any view from that remote Canary. That's why I'm saying the connection is bidirectional. Not only we potentially expose our tags to be archived in Canary, but any Canary server, even a remote system that wasn't created through the embeddeds, you have the ability to very easily browse any data without doing any configuration in our sites, okay? Because this tag provider, again, that's the reason we gave the name tag provider, works an extension as our own data model.
Nice.
So let me stop sharing the screen so we can have some wrap-up conversation here. And you should be able to see me again.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
We got you.
So this was not exactly a training, Harry. The idea is to show where is the configuration. And there is not much to show, frankly, because after you create a tag provider, which is by default in new projects, you are done. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, okay, and now what you have to learn? It's not that much, really. You just start using right away.
So it's really like design side consideration, right? Where is the data going to?
Oh, yeah.
Where is it going to be? You know, are you collecting from remote nodes? Do you need secure connection to a centralized data?
Exactly.
And then
Who
into your application itself, you know,
will
so
be the data steward, who will be the main application defined to the definition of that variable. You want to define your asset model using the Factory Studio tag and asset modeling tools that, by the way, we evolved also, or you want us to consume this other external definition, or your project has a unified namespace where some piece and parts are from one location, piece and parts from other. Again, design. That's what you need to do. Okay.
yeah, I know some of these, you know, some of the more, you know, Canary, the bigger Canary system, as well as some of the other big enterprise historians out there have some pretty decent tools around asset modeling.
Yes, they
And
do.
I know we kind of enhanced our asset modeling here big time with our 9.2 release. So maybe just talk a little bit about how you can apply those asset models right to the embedded integrated Canary historian that we're offering.
Yes. One feature that we have that's nice that applies to Canary, but as you pointed out, is generic. Uh, when you do your asset model, you can define an asset model with elements that are defined within this our application, or you can very easily insert an element here that will be coming from those external data sources. Hold on, I just need to select a nodes here to where I'm able to insert those new elements. So when I'm inserting the definition here, we
Wait,
can.
are you sharing, Mark?
Oh, thank you. Small detail. Thank you. Okay, good.
Okay, we got
So
you.
not going in too much detail on that right now, but the key point is we extended our concept of tags. So the tags, they can now be in folders uh, and you can have very advanced data templates inside. And when you are creating a data model, you can put in the data model tags created inside our own platform. But as you can see here, you can insert also assets from those external tag providers. And when you insert elements from those external tag providers, you can pick up not only one specific tag, but you can pick up all the tags under one level of the remote asset model. So what you select here, you select, okay, I want to go to this remote Canary system or OPC or MKTT broker. That's not only Canary, but I'm going to this remote system, and everything from this level down, I'll make available inside this new asset model. So these elements here will expand dynamically as I run the application. Okay. So you can very easily do those. Oh, by the way, I broke my. I was doing
that screen
online.
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So here it should show to you. Yes, it's really on the fly. So, but essentially, you can create those dynamic settings where that tree will be updated dynamically through whatever assets I will find in that remote connected system. Okay. So when you build your asset model here, you can define, okay, the entities here will be creating Factory Studio, or will be created in a remote system. Or I can mix in a more large model trees and pieces of trees from different systems. Or just use right away only the remote system. Okay. It's from 0% to 100%. You can do all your asset model here and map the Excel data sources, or you can put the remote tree in the top of the hierarchy and just consume the definition created on the remote assets.
Very nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I invite for more details about that. We'll have on October 7th, Harry?
Yes. October 7th will be our announcement, and we'll just do it. It won't be super detailed, but it'll be an overview of everything that's in 9.2, and then we'll hit on probably the top 4 or 5 new features, and then after that we'll kind of continue on with more sessions on more details of each individual aspect of 9.2.
Exactly. And we are going to have another technical meeting 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now.
That will be, again, around the product configuration, but the exactly module right now is open. So I invite you that who are watching this video today and during the next few days that will be published in YouTube and other places to give us some requests in which specific area or type of solution you'd like to do some deep dive on the configuration tools.
Yep. Yeah, so I think with that, are we good, or do you want to anything else you want to show, or
no? I'm good.
Any questions come through, or anything that we need to address?
I think not for today. It was a good information, and since no questions right now,
okay,
from the public.
All right, well, sounds good. And then we will come out and we'll let everyone know the next topic here 2 weeks from today, and look for our, kind of formal announcement for the 9.2 webinar live stream that we'll do on October 7th.
Perfect.
All right, Mark.
Thank you, you all.
Thank you. Take care.